Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello, everyone. To our lovely viewers who are still tuning in with us, welcome back. We're still streaming live on our Reader's Magnet YouTube channel and Twitter account, and of course on our The Festival of Storytellers Facebook account. And since we're live, don't hesitate to drop comments and questions for our featured authors. Once again, I'm Mia, your host for today. We're down to our last Author of the Hour session for the Festival of Storytellers Chapter 3. But again, you can still visit our website at www.thefestivalofstorytellers.com, where you can enjoy replays of roundtable activities and Author of the Hour sessions. We're ending the day with a blaze, quite literally, as we're joined by the author who wrote the books On Call, a story featuring one of our modern day heroes, the firefighters, and Treats and Tales, a story about canines. Let's welcome author Rotha Dawkins. Hello, Miss Rotha. Yes. How are you feeling today?
Great. Changed the time today, too.
How does it feel to be a part of the Festival of Storytellers, by the way?
It's really exciting. I just came back from New York. I was there yesterday, and so that put me a little bit behind in my napping, but I love being a part of the storytellers and the people that I got to meet while I was on my journey into New York. So it just feels wonderful to be a part of this whole endeavor.
Yes. How does it feel meeting other authors?
I enjoyed meeting our other authors. I feel like they're brothers and sisters. We got to talk, exchange parts and pieces of our books, and tell about why we did it and what made us do it. And most of us had the same idea, that it just so happens.
Yes, I'm sure it's a great source of inspiration to meet other authors. So perhaps, are there any thoughts of maybe collaborating with other authors?
Yes, we had some fun about some of our ideas of things that we'd like to write and that we thought we would write, and the things we did write. So it is really great to sit down with them and stand with them and drink coffee with them and just totally have a good time talking and exchanging ideas and thoughts and wishes.
Yes, I'm sure you had a good time. So for today, Rotha, we'll be talking about your books. But before we start discussing about them, I think it would be appropriate to get to know more about you first, like the author of these books. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in Lexington, North Carolina. That's where it all started. And I've been to many other large places that I've lived for large amounts of times, like Seattle. I lived 11 years there. Montana, I lived 7 years there. New York, I lived off and on probably 15 years or more. And about a year in California. And the rest of the time, we've been North Carolina. And I think that has given me a lot of gifts of the opportunity to write about different places. You can have a different kind of sunset in Montana than you would have in California. So it does give you a lot of insight and things to do. One of the things I learned when I was in junior high school, I wanted to write a book, but somebody told me, you can't write a book. And I said, well, I will. And I wrote a real short one, about 5 pages. But that wasn't one that I could turn into Reader's Magnet. But after that, I decided I do like writing. And I would write short stories. And I had some great teachers and people who were helpful in the training of learning the way to put it together. You do need to be able to write well and be able to uh, edit your manuscripts. And I usually write mine down with pen and pencil. I still do that. Somebody said, well, you need to get online and do it, get on the internet, get on the computer. But I still like the paper and pencil, because I can throw it away, get mad at it, throw it in the trash. And it's kind of hard to throw a computer in the trash, but anyhow, it makes for a good thing to be able to write in the way that you feel you want to write. And in talking with other authors, yes, a lot of them do the same thing. I would say still about 3/4 of the authors today write pen and pencil.
Yes. So
Then go ahead.
we like, okay, so that's a beautiful background. So you've mentioned that you did transfer to a lot of different places. So did all of these places maybe influence or change your writing style throughout the years?
Yes, I think that people I met in Seattle were parts of maybe a New York book. And I wrote a series of books called Red High Hills about that came through around 10 years ago. And I wrote about 7 books in that group. And we published quite a few of those. And we're going to republish again. And the characters, that you meet along the way and people you meet. One time I was in the process of writing one of my books and about trucking, and this old man was about 80 and he passed out in a truck stop, and I had to give him mouth to mouth. They took him off to the hospital, and about 3 days later, I interviewed him for about 4 days. His wife was real happy that I was there to take care of him instead of her. So those are things that do happen and can happen. And he was like about 20 some pages in that one book of the trucking book. So that was a fun that came out good in the end. And he carried on. He was an older man, and he carried on many, many years later. So you meet good friends and you bring people into it. And, who do you meet if you don't have somebody that or that you want to interview about a subject that you're working on? Then you go find them, and you find books, or you find something maybe that you'll just have something that just jumps out of the clear blue sky, and you say, yeah, I think I'll put that in my notes. And your notes are usually in your head. Of course, you computer people, y'all have a way to keep them all.
Yeah, I see. So, like most of the authors that I've encountered, most of those that I've interviewed weren't typically literature majors, or like didn't graduate in courses that maybe like lead them to the path of writing. Now, can I ask if you're one of, like, are you a literature major or?
No, I'm not. From high school, I went to New York to study design, clothing design. And of course, that was a great part of my life throughout all this time. And everywhere I go, I put me in a studio for clothing. I have a formal wear store now in Thomasville, North Carolina. And, this, you still meet people, you still do the thing. I took courses at night on this, that, and the other in writing, and took writing courses and corresponded with writing people and joined clubs about writing. But I think that writing comes from inside you. It comes from what you want, where your heart is, and what type of thing that you really would like to do. And the some books that you write or manuscripts you start in on, you maybe will not even attempt to send them out because it's not what you want to do. But then there's those things that you do, and of course you pursue and you perfect and you work on it over and over and over. And of course you, um, I find it to be more private to take care of writing within yourself. You don't give it out to a lot of people to read the first chapter. Hey, what do you think of this? A lot of people think that's the way to do it, but people can discourage you. And you need to not allow anyone to get into that special part of your body that is in your mind. You do not want to have someone to uh, cut you back and cut you down, because people are jealous sometimes and they don't want to see you write a book or maybe do something that's extremely exceptional compared to what they're doing.
Yes. And you mentioned quite earlier that, correct me if I misunderstood or if I heard it wrongly, but you mentioned that earlier in your years you started or you wrote a 5-page story. Is that
Yes, I
correct?
did.
Yes.
When I
Can
was
you tell
in
maybe? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
when I was in
Continue.
junior high school, I wrote about a mean boy that chased after me. Might be a good story to bring it back, but I kind of like dismissed it. But I didn't finish that little booklet. But sometimes, but I have a book now that I have had on cold ice for a while, and I'm going to add one more chapter to it. And it is a book of variety. And I think sometimes you get tired of writing the long book that I consider my books usually are around a couple hundred pages. I don't like to go too far beyond that or less than that, because I think the reader, you can't get the whole story out there within that if you're writing a novel about people and what they're doing and why and how and all that, and the ises and all that needs to be explained, and you have to explain who your characters are, and sometimes you have to bring them home and let them meet mom and dad. So it's important to uh, pull together your writing that you uh, like with the child. When I was a kid, that didn't seem to work for me, but then as I got older, I learned don't tell anybody that you're writing. But the other book that I am getting ready to pull out, I've got a book of short stories, and I've got
Mhm.
one short story I need to add because I know this will be a fun one, and it's a little bit fun. Short stories, a collection of short stories is kind of neat because it can give you an opportunity to uh, delve into other things besides the one specific thing that you might think that you have to do. You might have a boy meets girl, and you might have a murder in a short story, or uh, about an animal or a pet. And so there's a lot of things you can do with short stories. So that's good for people beginning also, I think, that you can write a short story, start to finish, go to the next one and go to the next one. And pretty quick, like you have you a whole book of short stories. And I think that's a fun way to do.
Yes. So before we proceed, we have a comment here. So it's from JP Abisilia. So he says, "You have a beautiful sound speaking the language. What state you have lived influence your speaking and writing the most?"
Well, I am from North Carolina, and I do still speak Southern. I guess it's North Carolina accent somewhat, but we've all been influenced so much by television and people coming and going, so that makes us a little bit different. But on my trip to New York, first thing they said, "Where are you from?" I said, "North Carolina." They said, "That's what I thought."
Speaking of accents, like, do you think how your accent is like, does it reflect on how you write, or is it?
Well, I don't think so. I think that that's a good part about writing. You can write different accents into your uh, literature as you go along. And I've had like country people they would say, well, I just do this and I'm going to do that. And we call those people from another town, but we don't say it in the public. But anyhow, I don't know that I have a northern accent anymore. When I was in New York, I didn't speak maybe quite as southern as I do right this minute, but we take our time. We hit the tomato patch and come on out and say, y'all want a tomato? Okay, well, here they are.
So most of your writing really comes from your experiences, and I think it's really wonderful because it makes them very realistic. It makes them very personal. So, speaking about your book, let's start with Uncle first. So, can you tell us more about it? Like, what is the book about?
Yes, I like On Call. I think it's a good little book. It took me, of all the books I've written, it took me more time to get that book together than any of the others. It's about the life of a small town fire department, very typical of fire departments. I have a son who is um, a fire chief now in Shelby, North Carolina. His name's William Hunt. He I've learned some from experience and going to the firehouse, and then I worked with a lot of other people in the firehouse too that had uh, they were part of their life too. And firehouse life is different than regular life. They live two worlds. They live all the time in two worlds. You got home, and then you have your fire department. Well, your fire department, you go to work. Most fire departments, you're going to be there for 48 hours at least, maybe sometimes more than that. But you're sleeping day and night. The bells ring. You have the calls. You have to go. You don't miss anything. You have your gear beside your, they call it turnout gear, beside your vehicle that you've got to leave on. And when the door is open, you better be on it. You'll be going, and no telling what you might be meeting out there.
So, is it like safe to say that your character, maybe your protagonist, your main character, is based off of your son?
Well, not really. I would say my main character, I have two little characters in it. That's a male and a female firefighter. Uh, they're not really based on my son. Um, Things I've heard of, I had to bring them into being a couple, and I wanted to make them so that they could work the firehouse. I mean, you can't just say this is what it is for one person. You take everybody's experiences and you kind of mesh them up all together, and you take the best of what's going on. Of course, there's some tragedy through my book, and in the end, it's a very happy ending. But um, Della is a lady firefighter, and she is wonderful about trying to help other lady firefighters to uh, join forces and come on in and become a big part. Firefighting is an element of our life that is total safety. And with our police department, fire department, and all of these, you got the mainstay of your city, and you got to have all these people to pull together, and they know each other, they love each other. And then of course she meets a fellow, and their eyes meet, and they have a kind of an interesting involvement. Although throughout the book they do not uh, on the in on call. They're for the on call. They're going, and they do not spend their time as sweethearts in the book. They might touch base occasionally, but that's it. My son's been married for a lot of years, so he doesn't count in the romance part of the novel. But I think a
I
lot of people would enjoy um, the romantic part of the novel. Then we have the cat in the tree, and we have all kinds of things that the firefighters have to do. And I did this too. This is an important factor when it comes to uh, firehouse. Uh, Everybody, evenings, you've got home and you've got the fire department, and everybody's got to have their meals. And of course, you get tired of McDonald's and all the places where you have to go out to eat. So mom and grandma and all kinds of folks bring food in, and they cook in the firehouse. So we have recipes that in the back of most chapters, so that you ladies can enjoy some of the firehouse recipes, and some of old grandma's recipes that she took from home to the fire department. So I think you will enjoy this, and enjoy the fact that they talk about food all the time. Of course, that food's on their mind constantly.
So, so the book has a romantic trope, as you've mentioned, and I think it's a beautiful touch. Like it gives maybe the character something or someone rather that they can lose, and it makes maybe the a career a little bit more intimate, a little bit more like sort of like serious, rather. So, speaking of like romance trope, how did you write it so that it didn't really affect the overall like firefighter point of view of your book?
Well, I first I preferred to keep it like in the beginning of the book. A little boy is a terrible storm outside, and the little boy came from home to see daddy at the fire department, and he's he's prays real quick, like he says, let's eat, and they eat, and in the middle of their meal they're called on a very serious uh, uh, event, so they had to go, and food's left, and they come back when they get back. But that was kind of the opening of the book, and the romance of the novel is the least um, involved part of it throughout the book. It just touches it here and there, but you know that there's a romance, but you don't
Mhm.
put
So
it
it's not
as first thing.
so it's not really more of like it's just in the background, maybe like it's just a
It's
sprinkle of
that's,
romance.
that's right. And
Mm.
thing is firefighters have constant, continual. Uh, they all have to go when they go to work. They don't know what they're going to be doing. They may have to go out on two or three or four calls at one time, or right within a few hours, or they may have none for a few days. And different fire departments are different from others. And I kind of made mine a hometownish type fire department. You have your big city fire departments, but they're split up into uh, groups too, so that they can, enjoy it. While I was in on the trip, I slipped by one of the fire departments and gave one of the commanders a one of my books of the on call, and he was so excited and he wanted five more. I said, "Well, we'll try to get them to you," because they're interested in. They have time to read. They have time to fix things. They have to do things at the fire department that we have to do at home, and then you have to go home and you have to do all these things again. So it's kind of a wonderful life that is ready and sitting there for people to join into fire departments. My son's fire department is constantly, there's someone that retires, or maybe they uh, have a reason to leave, or they transfer, and there's always a new person that's needed here to there. And so it's always important to, if you are interested in firefighting, male or female, go get your go to your city hall or to your fire department and get the applications, and look up what the need and what you can do to do this, and see if you're qualified, and make yourself get qualified, and you'll enjoy it. It's a wonderful life.
Okay, so other than maybe like encouraging others and like letting people know the significance or the importance of firefighters, we have a comment, and it says, or it asks, what was the message of your story on call? So what's the focal message?
Well, we put it on call because every time the poor folks would sit down to eat, they were on call. The bells ring, the everything goes off, and you have to get up and go, and you're on call. And as a firefighter, you are constantly on call, and you may be at home, and you still may be on call if there's an event that's big enough that they need everybody to come from home, from everywhere, even from other fire departments. So it's a very important factor, and I thought it was a very good message to send for people, that you're on call. So that's the first thing, is you are on call. And and whether you're home or at work or almost on vacation, you're still on call.
Yes. So I'm sure this story is very interesting, is very exciting. Oh, we have another question. Or are you writing another series or volume?
Uh, Not about on call at this point. Um,
Mhm.
I am 82 and three quarters years old, so I've got to take my time. I'm writing a little cookbook now. I'm not a cookbook. I have a cookbook coming up already and another novel, but called Connected with Reader's Magnet. But we've also got me working on a little gardening book for youth, and I think that'll be a fun book to do. And I have had a lot of people wanting me to do another on call to be similar to that, but I don't know that they really want that. Let's just hang with that one and let everybody get it. We get a million of them out, then we'll get on to it. I think that would be fun.
Yes. I mean, On Call and your other book, Traits and Tales, right?
Yes,
And you
yes.
have another book. These books are very, very different from each other. Like, how do you constantly come up with new topics to write about?
Well, well, I had Treats and Tales is a book about dog animals, and it's not totally geared toward children. I have a lot of adults that like the like to at least read it to their kids, and people like it. I have pictures of animals in it. I have recipes for dogs in it. There's also little uh, well, I have the if people want to know how to make dog clothes, and that was kind of where some of this somewhat stemmed. Our local police department has a canine unit, and we needed some money to uh, embrace the canines and help the officers to have some safety mechanisms that were needed. To buy one of the dogs is like $20,000 to buy one canine dog, so they have to be well taken care of. And we wanted them to have safety garments, and we wanted to have some of the. They have units that you put on cars that if your canine officer is away, he might run grab a cup of coffee or go into the or police department and grab up paperwork. The dog is in the car. Well, you don't want something to happen, so this alerts the officer that there's something wrong with the car, and it will also roll the windows down and put on the horn so that the dog is safe. So we wanted to do that for them. So in the process, we had a dog fashion show of about 100 dogs, and they all came, and I made clothes for them. That's how my design clothes, and we had a lot of fun, and people had a lot of fun, and we sold tickets, and we had a raffle, and we made money, and we made a lot of money and got a lot of stuff for them. And so having the fun that you have doing this was just about uh, one of the most fun things I think I've ever done in my life. It was really a trip because the dogs, we thought, oh my gosh, you get 50, 60, 70, 80 dogs together, 100. Okay, what's going to happen? They're going to get in fights, or they're going to hate each other, or what's going to happen? Every dog in that show sat down by its owner, and or the person that was bringing it in the show. It went without lunch. It went without its dinner, and it was a perfect gentleman and lady. And we had the most wonderful show. And the dogs came out, and they just strutted around, and they showed pretty, and it was just really a fun, fun, fun experience. And I was able to contain a lot of pictures from this, and my dog didn't get to be in the show because I couldn't let her do that. It would not be a good thing. But anyhow, it was a fun event and an extremely uh, liberty. We just made money. We just did everything, and everybody had a good time. So you can't have more fun than fun.
Yes, so that's a very lovely event for a very lovely cause as well. You mentioned pictures. Like, are these pictures in the book, or where can
Yes,
we
we
find
have.
or see? Oh,
Yes, we have a lot of those pictures in the book, Treats and Tales. We have some additional pictures. we have things from bows to some dogs don't like to be dressed up too much, but and some dogs can't be dressed very much. So we do the bows and the harnesses for them. But then we had little frilly dresses and cute little hats and little pairs of glasses, and they looked like all kinds of animals that were almost Halloween sometimes. So, but we had a great time. We had a wedding at the end of the program. We had the little wedding dress, and we had the groom dog that wore a tuxedo. So that was really a lot of fun.
So I think we can't really miss this opportunity. So if you have, do you have a copy of your book? Can you maybe show us a glimpse of these pictures?
Yes.
Oh, that's it. So can you show us maybe like a page or two of these
Let me,
photos you have? Maybe your favorite photo if you have any. Oh, that's adorable. Oh,
this
so
one's got a
the
flat hat on.
mhm. Oh, that's cute. So it's really the book is really more of like a novel type, right?
Yes, it is.
So
And
can you mhm.
and the dogs in this book, they talk like people. We have a story that starts the book called Little Red and Friends, and they are in the. I mean, a lot of people do animal things, and they'll have the animals talking, but these talk to each other like they're people, and their job in is to get out of the pound. They're at the city pound, and they don't treat them too well at this pound, so they want to go somewhere else, and so they get out and they head for town, and some of them know what's going on, but Little Red knows the story about it, and she says, let's go this way and let's go that way, and they go and they have a good time together in the process of trying to locate a home away from home. And then in the end they do locate family and home, and they all go back to their happy life. So it's a fun little book, and I've had a lot of people say they really loved it, and that's the book everybody wants me to do another one of. But um, I don't know. We'll see how much if I really want to do that. But I did. I would do a dog show, fashion show. They're fun. I've got all. I probably have about 50 dog garments now, so we'll probably start doing one soon.
Yeah, that would be very lovely to experience and maybe see. So, like writing on call, these are people, and writing like treats and tales, these are dogs. And well, both of them are really like action packed, right? But how did you? I'm curious to know how did you write or how did you narrate about like the dogs? It's coming from a dog's perspective. So, how did you do that?
Well, you have to realize that, uh, like I have a dog, and she's with me all the time, and you talk to them, and and so you get the when you want the dog to do a certain thing, you just figure out how a person would do it. You talk the way that they would do it, so that makes it so that you just carry a story, and you make a story that works for this dog to say so and so. This one answers it, and this one says there's a cat up there, and the cat says meow, and they go on. So you make it happen.
So, you also mentioned other animals in your dog book, right?
Yes, yes, we
So,
have a little bit of cat cat business going on in there too. That we kind of and some of it I do like to feel that we're teaching a little bit about how to handle some pets. Some kids have never been around or exposed much to pets because maybe they live where they can't even have a pet around, and we kind of address that a little bit, and then try to teach the cats and the dogs how to get along a little bit with each other too.
So other than animal handling, like what is like the message or the focal message of your treats and tales book?
Well, the big message I would say for the first story is if you want an animal and you can home an animal, then we like for you to know that go to your local pound. There's millions of babies out there looking for a home. And the trip I was on recently, I was so impressed. All of the stores had large dog watering places, and they kept them clean and they kept them pretty for the dogs to be able to have a place to drink water while they're on a walk with their parent. So if you want an animal and you can do it, go to your pound. There's beautiful. We have my daughter has a little weenie dog, and he is the cutest thing. He can jump up to you, and you better have your arms out to grab him because he is a acrobat. But he's a red weenie dog, and I love him to death. And he's a great dog. They're great to sleep with. They're great to pet. They're great to keep you from being somebody that if you talk to yourself, you don't have to do that anymore. You can talk to the dog. So it gives you a lot of companionship. And I think that with the book Treats and Tales, I like to tell people, hey, look at the companionship you could have. Look at and in the end, the dogs in the main story, they find homes, and we describe the love and the happiness that people have when they rediscover their pet, and how much importance that it is to have a pet to love and to give love to. So whether it's a dog or a cat or a mouse, if that's what you prefer, some people like snakes, but I'm not
Mhm.
nuts about a snake. But anyhow, if that's what you want, some pounds will have odd animals. So it's a good thing to look into the future of yourself with a pet if you haven't one. If you have one, you might want two or three.
So, I mean, a book about dogs is adorable, but like having that sort of message to like adopt or like to take care of these animals, it really takes it to a much higher level of like loveliness in it. So that's a very wonderful book to share. So, I mean, it's a
Yes,
great accomplishment. Hmm.
I think that we all can share. Most people can share the love of animals. I mean, if you're walking along and there's a pet somewhere, but I couldn't get over it in New York that every dog had a person. Almost every person had a dog, and it was just wonderful the sharing. And up there, they have more poodly type dogs. We have more like bird dogs and beagles and such down here in North Carolina. So ours sometimes have to go chase a raccoon or something. But my little dog, Peppy, she's a Chihuahua, and she's a good mouser. So she works as a cat and a dog.
So I'm sure these dogs or these characters in your book, are they also not based off real dogs that you've met or that you have?
Yeah, well, at my age, I've seen lots of dogs and friends' dogs, and there's dogs that I go to the pound occasionally and just look around just for the fun of seeing them and see what's there. Sometimes I know someone that may need a pet, so I go see what's available, and it's always fun to go, and uh, that makes for something extra special when you can gift somebody, not unless they know they're getting the gift, but give somebody an animal that they need, that they would love to have. And it's always a great thing.
Mhm. So how did you, I'm curious to know, like, how did you create the personalities for these dogs? Like, how did you match different personalities for different kinds of dogs?
Well, it just sort of came about. One dog at they threw this beagle in the pound, and poor thing was expecting babies, and so we had to get her geared, and little red went over to her, said, well, I see that you're going to have pups. And she said, oh yes, I'm going to have them any minute. And she told her story. She said, well, when I got this way, nobody wanted to keep me, so here I am. They said, that's all right, we're going to get these babies born, and then we're going to go out, and you're going with us. No, 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 I'm not going to go with you. I don't want to hold you back. Oh yes, 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 you will too. And you just give them a voice, and their voice might be your voice in different tones, but it works good. And I enjoyed doing that book. It was fun, and it was tough, but it was fun.
Yes, I'm sure it sounds like a very spunky, a very quirky kind of book to like read a story of dogs trying to escape the pound house. think it would be very fun to read.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting little book, and then to a lot of people like to do special things for their little pets, so they like to maybe make them some biscotti. I have a wonderful biscotti, and the police officers in Lexington, when I had my little bakery over there, they would come in, they would eat the dog biscotti and give the dog the cookies, so that made the biscotti have a two-way flavor. And of course, the one thing about it is, you know, you don't want to give your dog too many things that maybe your little child can't eat. So if the little baby's eating the biscotti, that's okay. They'd be okay with that.
So going back first to like on call, without giving too much information, can you maybe like introduce some of your characters to our viewers?
Yeah. Well, we had one commander who was, and typical of a lot of firehouses. You have firehouses that are county places. You have firehouses that are bigger cities, and our city here in Thomasville, we have four firehouses, but they're all pretty equally alike. But we have one that is the main station because that's where they keep all the big pots and pans. But they, you have different people at different ones. Well, this fire department is kind of like one of our um, little fire departments, or you know, one of our fire departments, or maybe one of the county fire departments, but more like a city department because it refers often to the sacrifices and the things that the city has to do and the things they have to do to go about uh, taking care of the city and the people. And the the character, one character commander, we call him Commander Bailey. He's a crazy man. He's ready to retire. He and his wife were divorced, and he's just takes it out on everybody. And they can't dare say anything about it because it's sort of like you just don't. You just sort of let it go. And then you have Della, who is a great gal who's in the firefighting. She goes out on most of the events, and she's very smart. She knows what to do. She works just as same as any man and right beside every man in the fire department. So women can do it. She has the same turnout gear, the same helmets, the same type shoes, the same type boots, the same everything. But she might wear lipstick occasionally and they don't. But they have a great rapport. And then we have Todd, who is her friend, and they from time to time their eyes click together and but they have to go on. They're on a call, they're on the truck, they're having to go. And not a lot of fire departments have romances going on in them anyhow. Might be that they have a firefighter that's involved in the department, but they don't have someone in the fire department itself as two romances or a romance going a guy and a gal. This one we did, and I liked it. It kind of let up the heaviness of some of the fires they had to go on, how they had to go through a window to grab a little baby and grab him so quick, and the fire was so underneath them that they had to just grab him. You take him, and they threw him down the out the window to the fireman that was standing on the ground and to the rescue squad that was had come in the ambulance. So these are the things that we like to do that we did in the program in the book, and hopefully this is going to be something that will be a real good factor to involve in for people to enjoy. And I'm hoping that some of the people that have read this book, I've had several that have come to me already, and they've ordered books and they've said they like treats and tales, but they love on call. And it really tells their story too. And when you see yourself in a story, that makes the story feel good.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot would love on call since people love like heroic stories, and this one is more of not a fantasy level. It's really real life, true to life modern heroes. And I've personally, I don't think I've encountered a lot of books that tackle or that discuss the importance or the lives of firefighters. So I think this is really one for people's shelves to add. Like it's a unique, or it's a more of like maybe a one of a kind book, sure to say. And it's, as you've mentioned, it's packed with like a lot of values. It's about women empowerment. It's about like these people's values, these people's virtues. So with On Call, with the publishing of On Call, like what do you maybe want to change in society regarding firefighters?
Well, I would like to see more people reach out and go for the firefighting industry. Uh, it is vitally important. We can't live without our firefighters. Some towns and cities have, well, Winston-Salem at one point had their firefighter and their police officer doing the same, they both did the same job. And I think they may have changed this now because as cities grow, things change. But, it's vitally important that we do have an opportunity to try this. A lot of people find that the scale of the pay is not as great as they would like for it to be, but nobody starts on top. And if you'd like to be a firefighter and yet you want to work another textile job or be an attorney, that's easy. You're always welcome to the county departments that will take you, and they'll train you and they'll work with you and they'll give you that opportunity to be a firefighter as well as something else. And you don't get paid, but you're a volunteer and you're doing your community and your county a tremendous help. We've got probably 15 different firehouses and lots of fantastic trucks and equipment. So there's a lot of money out there in firefighting being spent for it, but less money being spent on the people that actually are working. As you go up the ladder, and you can climb that ladder. My son climbed that ladder, and it was a rough job, but he is uh, doing it, loving his work, and he doesn't want to ever retire. He's like me; I don't ever want to retire. So I'd like to quit the dress shop and just stay with writing now. I've just gotten really hooked more and more into it. But Reader's Magnet makes it easy for me to get to that point too, because I would like to. We've got some other projects going, and I want to keep going as long as I can. And I think I can do this kind of job. It's only a pen and paper, and you can sit down, you can go to the bathroom, or you can take a bath, and you can still write your book. So it makes it fun for everybody to try. But go for that fire department work. It's good and it's fun. It's not just the excitement of seeing a truck roll or riding out on a fire truck, but it is uh, like being there on the job, helping. Many times when the fire departments have to dispense their people to go, there's other places they have to call, hey, come in and help us. We need more, we need more, we need more. And they do it for each other all the time. Then, of course, the ambulance and the highway patrol and your police departments, they're all become a part of it. And your sheriff's departments, they all have to become a part of the existing situation because there's more than just meets the eye with just being a fire. It can be something else that caused the fire, what caused, who caused, and all these things go along with it too. So there's a whole lot of magic running around, and you can be a big part of that magic, that you can help to uh, solve these problems, help someone to make a difference in your life and in their life too. So, don't overlook it, whether it's for the full time department or for volunteer. They need us all bad.
Yes, with everything you've shared so far, I'm sure there are viewers out there who are maybe already interested to start looking into like getting into firefighting. So maybe I think it's time to, can you show both of your books? I'm sure right now a lot are probably asking what these look like and where they can get them. So yes, that's perfect. So for our
See
viewers, yes, you can see it. Oh, maybe a
them
little.
doing
Yes,
better.
there. So, for our viewers who are still tuning in, if you're hooked and interested to read more of these very wonderful books, you can grab a copy of these. They're available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You can also check in on our Reader's Magnet book site if they're available, and you can also discover more about our author and blogs related to their books on Reader's Magnet's website. So, going back, Rotha, like in writing these books, these are very great books, and I'm sure you have a lot of passion to write about these huge causes. But did you have or did you experience any hardships throughout your journey?
Well, don't lose your manuscript. I'll tell you that. You don't. You go crazy. And I keep copies. I mean, I want a physical copy too. Things are different than when I first started. When I first started, you had a typewriter that you would go from your writing it out, and then you go to the typewriter. I had a secretary, which was my typewriter. I loved her, and she was always Agnes was always there ready for me, and she went through all the trucking books with me, of which I had seven or so that actually went to a printing system. So that was really good, and I had sponsors that helped me with all of that, and it's just all been a good, not an easy street. It's not, writing is not easy. It's very intimidating sometimes, and it's very hard sometimes, but it's worth it. If you really want to do something, you do it. And I find that since I've been with Reader's Magnet, they've helped me so much. In fact, they've helped me so much about trying to get the computer thing worked out. And of course, my system here in Thomasville was not really great for a period of time, but I love doing what I can, and I love these two books, and it just takes a whole lot to keep it going. But you have to keep. I don't like to write two books at a time. I started trying to do that. In fact, I was trying to write On Call and a novel called um, Connected, and Connected is coming out soon. We're in the process of getting that printed out, or ready for folks to buy. And I look, it's a straight novel, but it's entirely different. But I thought I could do two books right on one while, and another while. But it's two. You get crazy. You can't do two at one time. I can't. Maybe other people can, but I cannot. I find one job is enough.
Mm. I mean, even without juggling a lot of books at the same time, uh, writing, personally, I'm also a writer, a little bit of a writer, and I think it can be exhausting. So, like, how do you like keep up your spirit? How do you like push yourself to finish like a story or a paragraph or a chapter?
Well, pacing yourself is the important thing, and I think I've learned how to pace myself a little bit. You don't do too much at one time. If you do too much one day, you think, well, I need to go ahead and do this. Maybe make some notes and then start back where you were the next day or whatever. Because I like to pace myself um, when I have people that ask me to help them with what they're doing. I usually work on them trying to pace themselves so that they can get going with it and stay going with it, and not leave the project for more than a day or so. You need to write all the time something, even if it's a letter to your mom, but you got to write something to kind of keep yourself with that pen and pencil so that you are doing something.
So, for blooming writers or for starting writers like myself personally, like what do you have any advice or any tips? Like, how can they start writing a book?
Well, get you some pencils and pens and paper, and think of what you like to do, something that works for you. Don't pick out don't decide you're going to write a book about President Clinton unless you know President Clinton fairly well. Or if you want to write something about flowers, okay, get out there and find you some reason why. Do you do any gardening? Do you like gardening? And pick a project that works for you, and or if you want to write about a person, if it's someone you know, but you've got to make sure that you want to do this. Otherwise, you get disappointed. Then you say, "Well, I didn't want to do that anyhow," and you throw it away. But don't do that. If you can possibly maybe write down 2 or 3 subjects you would like to uh, work on, and then go out and interview them yourself, the subject, whether it's a potato in a garden, or if it's a flower on a tree, or if it's a bird in the on a bush. Work toward finding something that appeals to you, that you can absolutely pull it out. And then if you want to do novels, oh Lord, they're wonderful. And I like doing novels. I think they're fun because you can kill people, you can make them happy, you can do all kinds of things that you want to do. But a novel is always a fun thing to write, and you can put a twist in it that people don't expect, and that's even more fun. So don't not do it, just
Mhm.
do it, and you'll be able to get it done. Yeah, that's what it really takes, is to do it, the stick to itness, and getting started. I'm sure
Yes.
that you can do it too.
So it's really a matter of like stepping into it and just being determined to finish something. And also writing about something that really interests you or that is close to your heart. And I'm sure that's what makes you a great writer. It's because you write about something that you're passionate about and something that you experience on a daily.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
I like to write about things. I mean, I do have a book on sewing. I had it. I did that when I was in Seattle. I'm a dress designer. I've got a degree in design, and that was my big thing. And that's been the thing that supported me. Don't write because you think you're going to get rich. We know that. But the thing is who knows? You might get rich. You
Mhm.
know, it could very well easily be. I had someone that wanted to order 1,000 books last week, so I hope they did,
Mhm.
and
So
that
do
makes
continue.
a difference.
Yes. So it's not about getting rich, and I think it's also not about like just getting popular because of it. So, how do you define literary success?
Well, you success comes from within yourself. Writing, literary success is an art. It's a form of art. I can paint pictures too, and there's an art to driving a car. So I'm not too good at that these days, but uh, I do find that you treat it like an art, and you you look for the positive. You don't treat it like it's a thing that can't happen. It is a art, and you just treat your work as an art. And if you love your art, you go invest in it, invest your time, invest some money, invest your friends, and you know ultimately, don't give your books away. Let people buy them. They will appreciate that, and I know that you'll appreciate them doing it for you too. So treat it like an art. Don't treat it like an old dish rag that you just sling around the kitchen. Just know that you're writing something and it's special and you're special. So pull it together and you can do it. I did, and I know you can do it.
Yes, that's very wonderfully put. And I'm sure, other than being inspired to join firefighting, to adopt dogs, I'm sure our viewers are also now inspired to maybe do a little creative art and write maybe a novel or a short story to begin with. So that's a very wonderful or inspiring discussion for today, Rotha. And I'm sure it would be very lovely to hear more about you in the future and to read more of your books in the future as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you
Uh,
have,
no, I'm just saying thank you. I've enjoyed being here. This has been exciting for me, and I really enjoyed New York, and it's all been fun. So we keep these things rolling, and I know everybody can join us too.
yes, that's very good. That's very perfect. So, to you heard it from Rotha Dawkins. To our viewers, again, if you want to read more of her books, On Call and Treats and Tales, and maybe more of her books in the future. You can grab a copy of her books on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. So once again, thank you, Miss Rotha Dawkins.
Thank you. Enjoyed
Yes.
being here.
Yeah. So again, do you have many, maybe a nearly finished book or an upcoming book that you might want to also share a little bit to our viewers?
Yes, I have one that I started about a month ago. I haven't been able to work on it as much as I wanted to, but I still keep my pace with it. And it's a little gardening book. So, and it, if you've never heard a butternut squash talk, in this book you will hear it talk. So I think that'll be a fun thing whenever I do finally get it done.
Yeah, so it's wonderful that you're making a lot of these whimsical books like dog stalking, now plant stalking. I'm sure all of our viewers will be interested to read more about it. And I think I can speak for anyone when I say that I can't wait to read more of your books and to see more of what stories and what values you put out in the world.
Thank you.
Yes, because as we say here in Reader's Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you, Miss Rotha.
Thank you.